Hi everybody and welcome to Module 2, 21st Century Teaching and Learning. So in this module we're really going to be focusing on kind of the changing ideas around teaching and learning in contemporary classrooms and how that is being driven not only by economic factors but by technology and by kind of just the change in the way we're living today with technology, globalization, and all the different things that are coming our way in the 21st century. So I clicked over here on Module 2. You'll see the video down here once I'm done with it. And our online component is Monday, February 15th through the 21st. There's two parts to the online component that you have to do for this week. And the first part has to do with getting oriented to 21st century learning. And the second part has to do with looking at standards of practice for teachers and students presented by ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education. Also in Module 2, it's important to note that there's going to be two required reflective journal entries. So basically, I'm giving you prompts for two of your entries. You're still going to have to do 5 total, but 2 of them are already going to be set up for you. So then 3 of them are going to be ones that you're going to be doing on your own. So let's get started. I'll click on the link here. So for the online component of Module 2, again, you're going to be developing your understanding of 21st century learning, and you're going to be looking at the ISTE standards. Here are the 2 journal prompts that you're going to need to address in your reflective journals for Module 2. So number 1 says, after watching the videos and reading the materials presented in Part 1 of Module 2, discuss how your concept of 21st century teaching and learning has changed and be specific. On prompt 2, it asks you, how do the ideas and concepts presented in the video changing educational paradigms? Remember, we worked with that in activity for Module 1. Compare and contrast with what you learned in Part 1 and Part 2 in this module. Be specific in both of your responses. Okay, let's dig into Part 1. So Part 1 is really just kind of developing your understanding of what 21st century teaching and learning is all about. So we already are 16 years into the 21st century, but it's still something that's being talked about a lot in terms of educational reform, changes in education, and thinking differently about the way we look at teaching and learning. So the first part are 2 separate videos, so I want you to watch those videos. I suggest that you take some notes while you're watching those, and because remember, you have to answer one of your journal prompts related to some of this, but also these are good kind of overview videos or introductory videos on the differences in 21st century learning. This first one is a short video on kind of thinking differently about being a 21st century teacher. The second one is a little bit longer, it's about 20 minutes, but it shows you all kinds of different examples of the way schools are thinking and looking at teaching and learning differently in the 21st century. On the next page, I presented you with 2 different articles, and I want you to read those articles and think about what they're saying about 21st century learning. So the first article is kind of a look at different perspective. It's a bunch of different people who are kind of what you would call the movers and shakers in education, presenting their ideas of 21st century learning. And the second one is from a teacher's perspective about the way she thinks about how things have changed in her classroom and why she's doing the different things that she is. Don't forget to read the comments at the bottom too. Those are always interesting because they give you yet another perspective based on what you read in the article. And finally, for part one in the online version, I want you to start looking at different organizations that are promoting 21st century teaching and learning. You're going to look at the ISTE standards in part two, but for now, excuse me, I want you to look at the P21 Partnership for 21st Century Learning resources. In particular, I want you to focus on the framework for 21st century learning. So this is a link to the overall page, but if you want to go directly to the framework, you can click on that and you'll see over here, whoops, excuse me, I'm moving that instead. Let me just do this. So here is their framework for 21st century learning. You can see that there are the different skills and innovations, different things here, and then there's curriculum professional development. And as you scroll down, you'll see a lot more details about what they're talking about in terms of content knowledge and themes. Each one of these is a link to additional information. So how does global awareness fit in with 21st century learning? And you can read about those activities and their resources. If you want to, if you look here, here's the framework under About Us, and then within the framework, you can see all the different components of the framework. All right, so that wraps up part one. Next, we're going to hit part two. And the ISTE standards, so we talk a lot in education about standards, particularly curriculum standards or learning standards. We used to have the California state standards. Now we've moved to the Common Core standards, and all those are great for helping us focus on what, you know, students should be or can be learning. But also, we want to have some standards for other things as well. So the ISTE standards are the technology standards for students and teachers. They also have them for administrators, coaches, and computer science education, but we're going to focus on the ones for teachers and students in particular. And ISTE, again, is the International Society for Technology and Education. They are a global group working around the world to help us determine what are some of the essential skills that students need to have when working with technology, and what are some of the essential skills and components that teachers need to have in order to help students reach those goals. So if we move on to the next page, I want you to reflect first on this particular quote. So if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. And we'll discuss this more when we meet face to face. Then the next two sections is just reading the standards. The first set is the standards for teachers. And if you scroll down, excuse me again, I've put in a link, an actual PDF to the standards, or you can link to them from this link here. And the second one is the standards for students. Again, I put in a PDF with all the standards so you can look at those. But it's also important, I would spend some time looking not only at the student profiles here, but some of the other extra resources. So essentially that's it for Module 2, the online component. Remember that you're going to need to address these two prompts at some point in your reflective journal. They're not due until journals are due, but you may want to go ahead and try to get those done sooner than later while it's fresh in your mind. Have fun looking at 21st century teaching and learning. Bye.